back, everyone, to the BGF podcast. This is a very sad day. Episode 25. I'm your host, Gianluca, alongside of
Brandon.
Let's talk some Week 5 power rankings. But before we get into that,
Justin Jefferson is on IR.
he hit the IR block, and the Vikings are done. Oh, man, that hurts. That hurts. Unfortunate injury for the Vikings. Jefferson goes down, hamstring injury. It was lingering. You saw it affected his game about 2 weeks ago. And last week he sort of looked banged up. It wasn't all there. And then last week against the Chiefs, 4 days ago, wasn't able to play fourth quarter. And he's now officially on IR for 4 weeks. So never too happy when that happens. But let's get into the good stuff. Thank you to everyone for getting us to 300 subscribers on YouTube. We finally hit that milestone on the road to 400.
500 after that.
Let's keep it going, boys. I know you can do it. We just appreciate the love and the support so much. Keep it up. And if you're not subscribed, just please subscribe. It helps us out a lot.
And let us know which videos you like better from us so we can continue bringing you the content you guys like. So hit the like button. It helps us a lot.
No, for sure. Anyways, let's get right into these power rankings. So I believe there's been a lot of movement actually in this power rankings this week. I think there's been quite a few. There's been movement at the bottom, movement at the top, and in the middle, a lot of movement.
I feel like this was a big game-changing week for to see where teams are at. And let's start at the very top. Our first tier, our most dominant tier, we got the San Francisco 49ers as one, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty consensus that right now, after that Cowboys win on Sunday Night Football, that we are the number one team in the NFL. Then at number 2, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. So the two teams that are 5-0 right now.
Yeah.
Let's start off with that Niners game on Sunday Night Football. An absolute
munging.
The Dallas Cowboys got absolutely embarrassed. The Niners dominated them. And usually the run game is what's dominating for us. And it wasn't even... The run game, McCaffrey didn't even have to go absolutely nuclear for us to destroy.
No, and I mean, good on the Cowboys. You know, this defense, obviously, we know how good it is. They were able to bottle up McCaffrey. He had 19 rush attempts for 51 yards and a touchdown, averaging 2.68 a pop. That's not the McCaffrey we're used to seeing, so he is human. He can be stopped. Just takes a really good defense to do it, but...
Shout out to Jordan Mason. He came in.
He looked good.
Elijah Mitchell out yet again like he usually is, and he was running super hard. And honestly, I think he's our running back too right now, because Elijah Mitchell, as good as he can be when he's playing, he's never out there. This guy's always injured, and Jordan Mason's much more like you could trust him a lot more. And since last year, since we drafted him, every time he's played,
he's made a difference.
Exactly, he's been pretty impressive. So shout out to Jordan Mason on a performance like that. George Kittle, 3 receptions, all 3 of them touchdowns.
You already know.
He was. Did he even have a touchdown before this game? I don't think he did.
I think this might...
I think these are his 3 touchdowns on the year. So he had the day right before his birthday.
Look at it. Oh, happy birthday, George.
So the day right before his birthday, he has 3 touchdowns. It was a nice little birthday gift for him from Brock. Brandon Ayuk does his thing as well. 4 receptions for 58 yards. Felt like Stephon Gilmore couldn't cover him all game long. He was having a big game there.
Stephon Gilmore's washed, boys. I've been saying. Anyways, moving on to this defense, it looked really, really good.
Fred Warner, and Dre Greenlaw. The linebacker group was absolutely dominant. Fred Warner has a forced fumble. He has the sack on Dak.
And the pick.
That forced fumble though on Tony Pollard was like a work of art, man. The way that he sniffed out that play and just that punch, just seeing the way he punched it out was beautiful. That was textbook.
Whenever someone lands a punch and it hits, it's probably the most beautiful thing to watch.
Yes, I would agree with that.
It's just so satisfying seeing the ball just... I don't know. There's something about a punch that's just beautiful.
And also, he also had the pick. So he did everything, Fred Warner. He was all over the field as well. We saw Oren Burks get a pick, Deshaun Gibson, Dak Prescott. Like he usually does, throwing them picks.
But honestly, this D-line just causing havoc all game for Dak Prescott, and you saw he was flush. He threw 3 picks on the day. He didn't have a good day. Cooper Rush had to come in to bail him out at one point, but yeah, this trend seems to be continuing with the Dallas Cowboys, where their defense is good, but their offense is not so great. And the 49ers absolutely exposed them, I believe. It wasn't even close from the beginning. I'm pretty sure all Niners fans felt comfortable. And
Yes.
this Dallas team needs to seriously reconsider some things because if they keep going like this, one and done in the playoffs like usual.
Mm-hmm. And even with Dak, he even threw a pick against the backups.
Yeah,
Which
that was bad.
was really the story of their night. These guys were terrible. I'm just gonna pull up Micah Parsons' comments after the game. I don't know what this guy's talking about. That we're in the same tier as them.
Hey, listen, he's not gonna shit on his team because he has the
But
Cowboys.
still,
But
at least say like
be reasonable, man.
We had a bad game. It is what it is. But even what he was saying about Kittle, it's personal. You have to make it personal. You gotta see next time we play them. Like these guys are just all talk, no bite, man. They
Just like Jerry, just like their freaking owner. But whatever. Anyways, let's move on to the second team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I know Brandon was hesitant on putting them with the Niners, but I mean, hey, they are 5-0.
they're definitely the second best team, but I just feel like they haven't yet had that dominant.
I mean, week 4 was decent. Like their offense was rolling week 4. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I'm
They
just
haven't
saying,
dominated.
like us every week by the fourth quarter, the game's wrapped up. With them, maybe you can spin it in a positive way where they're finding ways to grind out wins every week.
Yeah.
And us, we haven't come up to like big adversity yet. But
One guy I have to shout out on this defense, which we've been doing it a lot, Jalen Carter, man. Another 2 sacks on the day. This kid from the nose tackle, like this kid is an absolute dog.
another Chicago Bears miss.
Yeah, another Chicago Bears miss, and just continues to cause havoc. And this Rams team, though, props to them. They put up a great fight. Almost coming out with this one, they just were down too much too late, and they weren't able to run too much in the second half. Their offense looked sloppy. Cooper Kupp, though, did look good when he came back, first game back. Let me go pull up his stats. I believe he had 6, 7 grabs.
118.
Yeah, 8 for 118. He looked good. Puka Nacua continues to be the second. And I think the Rams have a serious tandem here with those two receivers. I mean, it can cause a lot of problems to a lot of teams. And it's a good football team in LA.
Yeah, it was nice to see that Nacua could still be a valuable asset even with Cooper Kupp being there.
Yeah.
And as for Philly, it was business as usual for them. Their offense, their passing offense especially, was looking better. It keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
And A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert had huge games for them. And Devonta Smith was kind of a rough game for him. But we know how talented he is and he'll be able to bounce back. And their defense did their thing. And
Good.
Philly took care of business. So they're number 2 now for our next tier.
We got
This
some
is-
movement here.
This is like our elite teams tier. This is like not quite on the Niners Eagles level, but they're right there. So at 3 we got the Miami Dolphins. At 4 we got the Kansas City Chiefs. At 5 we got the Bills, and at 6, moving up into this tier for the first time this season, the Detroit Lions.
Good on them Lions. Yeah, no, this Miami team, I mean, their offense, with this run game now that Devon A-Chain is just completely taken over this team. And
Yeah, and he's out for the next 4 weeks now. He got placed
I
on
know.
IR, which is
I know, that's kind of sad for them. But to be fair, they do have a replacement of Raheem Mostert who's just as quick, if not a little bit slower, I believe. But anyways, very serviceable back. This team with a run game is very, very dangerous. So excited to see them with A-Chain back and healthy in 4 weeks.
And I think Jeff Wilson's going to be back this week too, so at least back right on time to give them another option in
Yeah.
that run game.
Tyreek had
Yeah.
another monster game, 8 for 181 and a touchdown.
Yeah, this game was never in doubt really for
No.
Miami. They had a little stretch there where Tua had thrown his 2 picks,
Yeah,
and it was a pick 6 he threw one of them, right, from what I remember.
yeah, it was a pick six. Let me just double check.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a pick
Yeah,
six.
I remember they were in the red zone and he threw a pick 6.
Yeah, Jason Pinnock pick six.
So that kind of looked like, oh, maybe the Giants can get back into this, but
Yeah.
in all honesty, that Giants offense is just
It's not
doesn't
there.
have enough to do much, and I said it coming into the year, I really didn't believe in this Giants team.
You were right. You were right.
It was kind of a fluke year last year. They just on paper, Brian Dable could have done whatever he could last year, but I don't know. With the talent he had, the talent was gonna come through at one point on how bad it was, and the Giants are just a bad roster, and it's showing again this year. At least Darren Waller was involved, 8 receptions for 86. He hasn't really been doing too much to start off the year, so at least for them, he got a bit of action. And as for the Dolphins, I think you hit on most of it there. Tyreek Hill, huge performance with 8 receptions at 181.
Yeah.
And next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Beating up on my Minnesota Vikings.
I'll
And
let you take over on this one.
so as I was watching this game, right, Kansas City Chiefs didn't impress me yet again. our defense looked decent. Their offense looked sloppy in some instances, but there were some moments where Mahomes shined. Isaiah Pacheco, 16 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown, only averaging 3.4 a pop. Very, very impressive with the Minnesota defense, but they got it done. Kansas City Chiefs receiving core didn't do too much, minus Travis Kelce, Justin Watson, and a few nice grabs. But honestly, this Kansas City team, as long as they have Mahomes, they're going to be a good football team. It doesn't matter. He's proved it last year, winning a Super Bowl with no receivers, and he's going to probably have to do it again this year. Defense, on the other hand, Chris Jones is an absolute monster. Didn't do too much in this game. Garrett Bradbury had him locked pretty much the whole game, which was very good to see. Obviously, they had 3 sacks, but Minnesota, man.
Big story, the Justin Jefferson injury.
Justin Jefferson injury is going to be costly. Also, the Chiefs have the refs in their back pocket like usual, but hey, it's another story. Vikings, no Justin Jefferson. You're 1-4. What do? You probably sell. You probably get rid of players. It's just, I think this team's going to be good enough to win a few games, so I don't see them tanking too bad. It's just, they should, but...
It's going to be a case where they're going to be in the top 10, but probably in the back end of that top 10.
Yeah, where you want to be in the first half, especially with this year. But hey, maybe they move up in the draft.
So those elite quarterbacks are probably off the board by then. So it's kind of a tough spot for them. And
ideal world, if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, right? You see what you do next week, you play the Bears, but then you get the Niners the week after that. So, I mean, how good can you really play?
Yeah, at least this will give a chance for Jordan Addison to truly break out if he really is great.
I mean, hey, he looked good. He got 6 for 64 and a touchdown last week. This week, he should be the wide receiver 1. I fucking hate how the Vikings use KJ Osborne as, like, there's just infatuation with KJ Osborne, and it's okay. I love the guy. He's a super great guy, but not a great football player. He had 9 targets to this game. He dropped maybe 2-3 catches that were very easily grabs in a first. There was one play that I remember with KJ Osborne. Kirk Cousins threw a dot. Literally nobody around him. All he had to do was run to the outside of the football field, run towards the left side, and he might have had a touchdown, but he was probably in the 10. What does he do? He runs in the middle where all the Kansas City defensemen are. He has no awareness. And then all you see is Jordan Addison on the other side trying to direct him to go left. Just no awareness with KJ Osborne. He's not a great receiver. I don't know why the Vikings love this man so much. Anyways, that's it.
He's a great guy.
That's it.
All right, let's move on to the next team, the Buffalo Bills, who they're this high up on the list, but they took a loss this week in London to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their home fans showed out Buffalo. I'll give it to them.
Yeah, they were there.
It was really loud. A lot of Buffalo fans in the crowd, but we know Jacksonville had been there for the last 2 weeks. So I feel like that's the one thing I don't like with these overseas games. I feel like it's an unfair advantage that Jacksonville had been there already, adjusted to the time for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and Buffalo had just gotten there that week. But Jacksonville came out to play, especially early on in the game. They came out firing, and they never really gave up the lead. Travis Etienne had a huge game, 26 carries, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns, and even through the air was pretty decent with four catches for 48 yards. This was a Travis Etienne when he got drafted. This is
what you were expecting.
This is the type of performances we were expecting, and good for him. It was a huge performance. Calvin Ridley also had a nice little bounce back performance after he's been quite disappointing to start off the year. Christian Kirk did his thing as per usual. And Jacksonville's defense, again, I was super impressed with them. Tyson Campbell, we said it earlier on in the season. I feel like he's had a really underrated season this year. He hasn't really had the huge pick numbers and turning the ball over. That's probably why. But I feel like he's been super solid for them. Josh Allen's always going to do his thing. And overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they had kind of I would say disappointing start to the season, but underwhelming.
Yeah.
And
hey, this London stretch turned it around for them.
And yeah, so I think they're kind of hitting into gear right now, and it's at the right time because that division is up for grabs and it's really theirs to lose. So I think for them, this is the time now to take hold of it. And as for the Bills, I don't know. It's just with these guys, they were good for the last 3 weeks. And then you get to
you get
these performances where they're just what you look like you're watching a completely different team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But yeah, the thing with the Jags, just to touch up on that, they have to develop this consistency because that's what they've always been lacking, just this consistent performance. And I think this year, especially with these two big games in London that they won both of them, they're back above 500. You just got to build on that. You play the Colts next week. You just got to keep it rolling. And yeah, no, excited to see what the Jacksonville Jaguars do this year.
So yeah, moving on now to the Detroit Lions, who without Amon-Ra St. Brown, without Jahmyr Gibbs,
they beat up on them Panthers.
They beat up on the Panthers with basically a makeshift offense with, besides David Montgomery, a lot of Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Craig Reynolds, I know got in the end zone at one point. And you got to give credit to Dan Campbell on just the way he has his team playing, the way he's turned around the culture. We know the Lions for the longest time have just been one of the jokes of the NFL, and they're looking like a legit, like well-run organization that could just plug in guys and make them play well.
They definitely do, and I mean I think you pretty much hit everything. Dan Campbell has this team looking really good. He changed the culture, and you see the team wants to play for them. But one thing about the Lions now, right? You go up against the Buccaneers, the Ravens, and the Raiders. Those are your next 3 games. These are big tests because there's very good defenses on the opposite ends. They haven't really played that elite defense just yet. I kind of want to see what they do against these teams. See how legit are they. I mean, if you absolutely dog the Buccaneers and the Ravens, you're a Super Bowl contender in my eyes. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. Should be very interesting games next week. Keep an eye out on that for sure.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a contender. And even Jameson Williams also came back this game, not much. He's a guy that, so far in his career, it's been very disappointing. There's always been stuff going on. Anyway, it was his first game back, so I'm not going to go too...
Jameson played.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God. Sorry.
So far in his career, it's been like very, I was going to say ups and downs, a lot more downs than ups.
Yeah.
But hopefully for him, first game back, not going to be too tough on the kid. Aiden Hutchinson, like always, big time performance. He even had that interception.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And Jerry Jacobs as well. So overall, this team on both sides of the football
playing hard.
It's just playing well, and they're definitely going to win that division now. So
hey, it happens. Anyways, let's move on. Next tier.
Nothing on Carolina.
What do you want to say?
They suck.
They didn't look great. I mean, yeah, Bryce Young, 25-41, 247, 3 touchdowns, but he did have those 2 picks.
And you have Adam Thielen absolutely carrying that.
Adam Thielen looking like, the wide receiver 1 of 2018, but hey, it's totally fine. Jonathan Mingo, actually, I was very excited to see him being utilized. 7 targets on the day, only caught 5 for 48. Want to see more production from Mingo. I think he is a good receiver. Just got to utilize him a little more. DJ Chark also had a few nice grabs in this one. But yeah, no, that's about it. This team.
But on Thielen, I'm happy to see him. I doubted him. I'm sure you doubted him after last year. We all thought he was cooked, and to see the way he's been performing this season, it's good for him that he's, especially on an offense like this where he's really the only option, that he's been able to perform like this. And on Miles Sanders, another disappointing performance for this guy.
Chuba Hubbard.
And it's showing that Eagles' run game and their offensive line is really a big factor in these running backs.
Yeah.
Next up, our next tier, we have 3 teams in this tier. We got the Seattle Seahawks, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Seattle Seahawks did not play this week, so...
They were on bye. We didn't want to move them too much.
Yeah. I think they're probably better than the Cowboys right now. Like, since their offense definitely is better than theirs.
Their offense has looked impressive to start.
And I don't know, it just feels like every game they've played, besides bar week 1 where it was just like a shock loss to the Rams, I feel like they've been like putting in pretty good performances, and they're one of the better teams, and I'd expect them to make the playoffs. So yeah, they didn't play this week, so no game to review there. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. We did go over the game against the Niners. Pathetic performance from these guys. They were 4th in the rankings, and now they dropped to 8th.
Yeah, so they're going down. I mean, look, thing with Dallas, right? We said this. Offense looked sloppy, and it just completely... the 49ers completely embarrassed them, and offense didn't look great. Maybe it's personnel, maybe it's coaching. I
really think that getting rid of Kellen Moore and firing him was just a really stupid mistake.
I agree, 1,000%.
Mike McCarthy's still running this like ancient offense where it's just a lot of the same stuff that he was running in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what for Dallas. I don't know. Mike McCarthy's gonna have to get out of there at one point if they want to be. But they're not gonna win this. I don't even think honestly. I don't even think they're Super Bowl contenders right now. Like
They're
I think
not.
I think
They
they're
got
playoff
embarrassed.
They're playoff contenders, but they're definitely not Super Bowl contenders like their fans and they were making it out to be.
Yeah, you play some shit offenses. Your defense looks really good. You play a serious team with the Niners who have a good team all around, and you get embarrassed. I mean, you want to talk about showing up and showing out. You got to win. You got to play in these type of scenarios. You got to be there. You got to play football. You got to show the world that you're legit. If they would have lost by a touchdown or a field goal, if this game would have been close, if this defense would have had like 2-3 turnovers, maybe it's a different story, but it didn't. 49ers embarrassed them. Mm-hmm. Anyways, moving on.
I had one question for you though. Right now, if you're building your team and you need a wide receiver, who would you take? CeeDee Lamb or Brandon Ayuk?
That's a very, very good question because I think what Brandon Ayuk does is very, very underrated. I think now this season he's starting to get the praise he should have been getting all his career. CD plays on a bigger market, so everyone likes.
I feel like because he's a bigger name, he's more well known. But I was thinking about it. What's the real gap between these two?
I think the real gap between these two is CeeDee Lamb has the better hands. I think he has a better range of he can catch crazy balls. Yeah, but Brandon Ayuk, in my opinion, is a better route runner, and I'd probably go with Ayuk.
I agree with you there. Quite obviously. But anyway, we'll move on now to Jacksonville. Another game we did go over. I think we kind of hit the nail on Jacksonville. They're the next on the power ranking.
That consistency, man. We got to see more from this offense, and hopefully they build off this London performance, and we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to the next tier here. This is a very big tier with a lot of teams. There's a lot of this is the middle of the pack tier. There's a lot of teams that are just like, they're kind of just, like these first few teams are on the edge of breaking into contender possibly.
Depending on what happens, we'll see.
And the guys on the bottom are kind of near the maybe being below average, but we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Atlanta Falcons, the Los Angeles Rams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Indianapolis Colts, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the New Orleans Saints.
Yes, sir. That's a big one.
I feel like once we're hitting like the Rams to the Saints, I feel like the order is, you can really flip these guys anywhere. I don't think there's much of a...
I would have to agree with you there. I think maybe you can make a case for either of these teams being higher or lower.
Yeah. Like I could see maybe Cincinnati being ahead of the Colts or the Chargers maybe, but it was kind of a 1 week performance.
Anyways, let's go over it.
Yeah. First up, we got Tampa Bay, another team that was on bye this week, so not much to say there. They are 3-1, and they've looked good in all their games, and now they come up against a really hard test in the Detroit Lions this week, so we'll see how they deal with that.
Hey, look, they're coming off bye. Maybe Evans and Godwin are both healthy and ready to go, so it should be a fun little matchup here in Week 6.
And the Baltimore Ravens, they took a very
bad L.
Yeah, bad loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unexpected, especially with the way the game started. Pittsburgh's offense was looking so bad, and still the defense able to keep them in the game. And then in the second half, Pittsburgh comes back and just gets that narrow victory, 17-10.
George Pickens had a game.
Yeah.
6 catches for 130 and a touchdown. But the thing with the Steelers defense, I think you pretty much covered it. This defense is just outstanding. Mike Tomlin, one of the best defensive minds in the NFL, maybe in the NFL history. I don't know. The fact that he's keeping this team afloat is insane with a very, very bad offense, very, very bad offensive coordinator.
My God.
And this team is winning football games. They're holding teams to like less than 10 points a week. It's crazy. What this team is doing is just insanity. I would be scared if the Steelers made the playoffs to play them. This defense is so good.
I wouldn't be scared to play them.
No, but man, I think this honestly.
We saw week 1 we could do it.
Yeah, but that was week 1. Like now you're in week 4 or 5. Your team's you're figuring things out. You're figuring out how schemes, what works well. I think this is the second best defense in the NFL.
There's definitely an argument to be made there. They're definitely up there.
I mean, Alex Highsmith is a very, very underrated piece on this defense.
We said a few weeks ago he goes under the radar because he's playing next to TJ Watt. Even last year, Alex Highsmith didn't have like 12 sacks, I think, when TJ was out.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, well,
I didn't hear a peep.
No one said anything.
Yeah.
Also, Joey Porter Jr., shout out for that pick. Mm-hmm. Kids looking decent in Pittsburgh. Kids looking decent.
And then that trade is looking very bad. It's been talked about a lot from the Bears side. Joey Porter, they get him, and now Chase Claypool's not even on the Bears anymore. They got traded for like a sixth, sixth or a seventh.
Sixth or I think conditional sixth, maybe seven. I don't know. So essentially, the trade was Steelers get the second round pick for a sixth.
Joey Porter for a 6th-round pick.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Good on Pittsburgh, man. Good trade there.
And yeah, on Baltimore side, that was one of the worst receiving performances I've seen in a long time, man. Just Lamar Jackson didn't have much help from his receivers. A lot of drop. Mark Andrews had a drop in the end zone. Bateman had a drop in the end zone. He had another drop. He had a few of them. Nelson Aguilar had a few. It's just Zay Flowers having a rough game. He had a lot of drops as well. It was just nothing was going well for Baltimore. And I think this was kind of an outlier game. I don't know. They kind of got really unlucky in this game. And I think they'll be able to bounce back. It's just when you're playing a division rival like the Steelers and the division is so close like it is now, this is a game you kind of have to figure it out and win.
Just one thing on the Ravens that I want to add. 3 turnovers ain't going to win you a football game.
Yeah.
I seen it with the Vikings, and I mean, if this team continues to turn the ball over, it's not going to be good for them. And they are 3-2. They have some leeway, but anyways.
And Odell recently coming back and getting injured yet again is just...
Yeah.
I saw a tweet the other day. Time for him to get the podcast equipment on. that was kind of funny, but it's unfortunate for him that he just can't stay healthy, and it's been rough for him with the injuries.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you. Anyways, let us move on to the Atlanta Falcons.
Who beat the Houston Texans. This was a pretty decent game.
Better than we both anticipated, at least from Atlanta's side of things. Desmond Ridder finally throwing the box.
I was impressed. I did not
slinging it.
We were giving him heat saying that he shouldn't start this week, and he shut us up.
He did shut us up pretty bad. I mean, 20 for 37, 329 and a touchdown. Looked pretty decent. Drake London also had a pass for 22 yards and a touchdown. A big gain. But Bijan got kind of bottled up by this Houston front. And what really impressed me, and even Tyler Algier, they still ran the ball. Jesus, 30 times. Wow, I didn't notice they ran the ball that much.
And the Houston front was...
The Houston front was legit. I mean, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's scheme, which it probably is. D'Amico Ryans has them playing really, really hard on defense. Love to see that. Desmond Ridder was finding the holes on offense. I'm very, very happy to see him sling the rock. I need to see this man sling it a little bit more. Kyle Pitts had a day. Drake London had a day. And Jonnu Smith also had a day.
This just shows that if Desmond Ridder can play as a competent quarterback, the Drake London, Kyle Pitts, they're going to be able to produce, and they're going to be able to put up pretty decent numbers. Yeah. Obviously, Bijan doesn't have a huge day, but you know how talented he is. He'll be able to bounce back from this. And on the Texans side, C.J. Stroud just refuses to throw an interception.
Good on him, man. Good on him.
He now has the record of most
pass attempts
without a pick, and he's leading by like a very high amount. And he's just a really accurate quarterback. And he's right now between him and Puka Nacua, probably running away with the offensive rookie of the year.
Puka Nacua might drop off just because of Cooper Kupp. Yeah. Not his fault. Not his fault at all. He still should be at least nominated.
But I think Stroud is probably the favorite.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Another no-pick performance by Stroud. I wonder how many games he's going to go without a pick. We should probably make that a parlay down in the comments.
Just by the way he's playing, like he hasn't even had like interceptable. But I think if he does end up throwing one, it's gonna be one that
deflected off someone's head
or something, because he has not shown that it's gonna come anytime soon. And on the receiving end, though, Dalton Schultz had a nice bounce back performance, as he had been kind of disappointing so far to start the year. He had a nice little performance there, 7 receptions, 65 and a touchdown, but not much was going for the offense. Yet again, Atlanta's defense is very underrated. I don't think many people talk about.
I agree.
That Jesse Bates signing and how much of a difference it has made on that defense.
I agree.
Especially the defensive line with Grady Jarrett. And it was a nice little win for the Falcons, and they're still battling for that division with Tampa Bay, the Saints. Honestly, that division.
That division's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it has been.
It's really interesting.
They've all been good teams. Like Tampa's 3-1, Falcons are 3-2. The Saints are 3-2 as well. Like They all got good records in there besides
Carolina, but hey.
Carolina. But yeah, it's been interesting to see in that division how good those teams have played. Now next up, our next team is the Los Angeles Rams, who did take a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about that game earlier as well.
Yeah, we sort of hit that on that one as well. Puka Nacua Cooper Cup tandem looks nice. Stafford didn't have his most productive game, but that Philly front was really causing havoc. And Kyron Williams, 13 carries for 53 yards, averaging 4.808 a pop. Decent game. I want to see him utilized a little bit more. I think he is a pretty good back, and very interested to see what they do with him.
I think for the Rams, they're going to be one of those teams that they're probably going to be hovering around 500.
Yeah.
Maybe can make a playoff push, but and they're going to give like good teams a run for their money because they're going to take them by surprise.
The Rams are the Seattle Seahawks of 2022.
Basically.
Anyways, moving on.
We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about them earlier as well. I don't think we really need to go much. We just talked about them. So
the defense, man. The defense.
So I don't think we got to go much more into that. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts.
We didn't talk about too much.
Beat the Tennessee Titans 23-16. Even this game was not bad. It's just unfortunately Anthony Richardson. Yeah, it feels like every week this guy's going out with injuries. I think he really has to protect himself more. As a young Russian quarterback, we see this often where they're very reckless and run around everywhere and they don't protect themselves.
I mean, it was technically only his 4th NFL game. I don't blame the kid. He wants to do stuff, but I mean, hey, still looked decent when he was out there. 9 for 12, 98 yards, ran 2 times for 5. He was having a decent game. I think Gardner Minshew comes in.
He does
the thing.
He does what he does, man. He's steady quarterback play you're gonna get from Gardner Minshew. And Zach Moss had an absolute day.
He did.
Jonathan Taylor came back into the fold, didn't do much, and Zach Moss didn't care about Jonathan Taylor. He 23 carries for 165 yards,
Good for
2
him.
touchdowns, 7 yards a carry, an absolutely monster game from Zach Moss. As a guy who started him in fantasy, I kind of had no choice because Gibbs went out, and I was happy I started him.
Thank God you did.
Yeah, huge game from him, and I wonder if in the next weeks, how much of a role he still will have. I think with the performance he's put up all season, I think
he kind of garnered himself like at least a committee role.
Exactly, he deserves still some sort of role. But we know now, especially running backs, when they get paid like Jonathan Taylor has, he's now the 3rd highest paid running back in the NFL, $14 million a year. Jonathan Taylor is gonna get.
He's gonna get utilized.
His touches, no matter how he's playing, with the amount of money he's making, he's gonna have to get his touches. And on the receiving side for them, Josh Downs, another guy who's gone under the radar, for those rookie wide receivers. He's been solid for them. He's had games for them. This game was kind of his coming out party.
6 for 97.
6 for 97. Really good game from him. Michael Pittman, 5 for 52. Even Zach Moss through the air, 2 for 30. It was a good game for the Colts and another team that's 3-2 in that division right now. Them and the Jaguars at the top. I don't know who is top of the division. I think it would be.
I think it's
Jacksonville on.
Indy or Who beat them? I think Indy beat the Jags already. Or
no,
wait,
no,
or was
no,
it?
No, the Jags beat us. I think on division.
Okay,
wins,
yeah, my
Jags
bad.
first in that division. Yeah, the Colts are gonna make some noise even without Richardson. Is he out for
4 weeks? I think he's on IR.
So I think they'll still be able to make some noise without Anthony Richardson. I think that Gardner Minshew pickup was a good one as a backup. You get a solid backup with your young quarterback, so Colts should be just fine without Richardson.
And now the Tennessee Titans side of things, I just want to shout out Tajay Spears yet again impressing. Whenever he's out there on the field, looks really, really good. Derrick Henry, man, it's just unfortunate to see this because there's a few games this year where he's just underperformed, and I don't know. I feel like it just he might be at a point in his career where he's up there in age. He's not the freshest of backs. He's probably a little banged up over the years, and it happens. But DeAndre Hopkins had his best game yet as a Tennessee Titan. 8 for 140, didn't get the touchdown, but hey, looked really, really good out there. Running some routes, catching some balls, made some nice catches too.
It looked like vintage DeAndre Hopkins.
Excited to see that. That's why they brought him in. And
another guy I actually want to shout out on Tennessee though is Roger McCreary. He's a guy that before this off season I hadn't really heard of him. I remember we did that guess who there.
Yeah.
On our TikTok, check out our TikTok if you haven't.
BGF pod.
Already, but yeah, we had done one. We did a guess the player, and I didn't even know who he was. But I feel like every time now I watch the Tennessee Titans,
you see him.
I see him making a play. So yeah, even had a forced fumble in this game. He's been very good for them, and another under the radar corner in the NFL. And yeah, Tennessee, I think they could have maybe won this game. They played all right, and another team that I think they're going to be a 500 type team, and maybe they can sneak into the playoffs in a very tough AFC, but we'll see what happens the rest of the way. Next up on our power rankings, we got the Los Angeles Chargers,
who didn't play a football game
this week. They play the Dallas Cowboys this week. Kellen Moore going back to face his former team, and we'll see what we do there. But for now, they're staying here on our power rankings as they were starting to pick it up a bit after their slow start to the season. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals,
who finally looked good
on the Arizona Cardinals. Joe Burrow and that offense, and Jamar Chase especially, can't go without talking about him. But they look back. Joe Burrow looked very comfortable.
Yeah.
He moving out of the pocket, and it looked like the injury, he was past that injury after this game. He looked very, very good for them. Jamar Chase went absolutely nuclear with T. Higgins out of the lineup. 15 catches for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. What a performance. The performance of the week by far. He was amazing. And all you guys that traded Jamar Chase in fantasy,
how you feeling?
Yeah, it's not looking great for you guys.
Yeah, no, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Joe Burrow looked pretty decent in the pocket. 36 for 46, 317, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. 15 of those balls went to Jamar Chase. And I feel like if you're the Bengals and, you had this slow start, no one was running, you just got to hit your man. You got to get your best wide receiver rolling. And that's what they did this week. And they looked decent. They beat up on them Cardinals and
I think
looked pretty good.
This is the type of game that can get them back into their rhythm. And
yeah.
Especially with the division looking wide open. The Steelers and the Ravens both have 3-2, but both I'm not too convinced on. So Cincinnati could definitely make a push and get back into the conversation. I don't know what their schedule looks like the rest of the way, but
I'd have to look. I don't know.
Well,
Trey Hendrickson also, shout out to him. 2.5 sacks on the day. Looked pretty decent.
He's had a very good season for them on that defensive line. Anyway, next up we got the New Orleans Saints, another team that beat up. This was even worse. Beat up on the New England Patriots.
My survivor pick.
that was a really good pick. Actually, yeah, we didn't go over that.
Next video.
Yeah. Quickly.
Okay, quickly. Let's do it.
The survivor pick, you picked the Saints, I picked the Dolphins. We both got it right, but that Saints pick was even when you picked it at the time, I was like, are you sure?
I was like, I'm 100% sure. No Judon, no Gonzalez. It won't even be close.
That looked like a genius pick. And as for the picks, I'm back.
You tied it up.
It's 2-2 right now. And yeah. So let's get back on.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you sure it's 2-2?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. We'll talk about it after.
I had like 3 before yesterday. I had like 3 in front of you. So
you're good.
Anyway, 34-0. Saints win. I think this more had to. I don't want. Obviously, when you win 34-0.
Yeah.
You had a good game, but
you had a great game.
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of attribute this more to the Patriots just being fucking terrible, man. 2 weeks in a row where they get blown out by 30+ points and Bailey Zappi has to come into the game. Anyway, we'll talk about the Patriots after this. Let's talk about the Saints. Michael Thomas had an okay game. Kendre Miller, this was probably the best game of his career. It wasn't nothing crazy, but he had a nice big run at one point and 4 catches for 53, which was nice for him.
Yeah.
Kamara was okay, and honestly, I think the defense was really the big story for them. Pete Warner, Tyrann Mathieu had the pick 6. Pete Warner had a nice game like he usually does for that defense. Mario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, and all them. They're a good defense. Cam Jordan had a sack. They're usually a good defense, New Orleans, and will always be that. And if we want to the Patriots, these guys
looked horrible.
I don't see where it gets better for these guys. And it was easy to see this coming though for the Patriots. Like on paper, they are not a good football team.
They're probably one of the most depleted rosters in the NFL, and
this is what happens when you keep fluffing your picks, your early picks.
yeah, and you don't I don't know. No help to Mac Jones whatsoever. You don't surround this guy with anything. You're signing Juju Smith-Schuster's your big signing in the offseason. Not looking too great. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez and Judon are out. It doesn't help the cause, but either way, it's been a few years now where the Patriots have just been on this decline, and it has not been looking good for them. I don't know when they come out of this mess. I don't know how they get out of this mess, but something needs to change somewhere, and I don't see it happening this year.
And seeing the way Jacoby Myers has performed with the Raiders, and they signed Juju for the same money, and he's been an absolute zero.
Absolute letdown. Did even catch a football. 3 catches for 6 yards.
Yeah, basically nothing.
Wow.
And, it's like you're obviously not gonna fire Bill Belichick. He's one of the best coaches of all time, but hopefully you give him till the end of the year, and hopefully he just retires on his own at this point. I think the Patriots need a new identity. They need a fresh face of something different, and
I agree.
It's just not looking good for those guys, and hopefully they can move on at the end of the season. But Ramondre Stevenson as well, another guy I had high hopes for coming into the year, and it hasn't. He's been non-existent.
I mean, 8 carries for 24.
There's just been nothing good to talk about on this New England team.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with Gonzalez and Judon going out. So next up, our next tier is kind of the below-average teams. We got the Houston Texans, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, the New York Jets, and the Washington Commanders. First up, the Houston Texans. I'd say this team isn't really below average. I think they're kind of middle of the pack. But I think it was kind of a toss-up where we had them. They could easily be in the tier above, but because they took a loss this week, we kind of felt like we had to move them down. But yeah, we talked about Houston earlier. They had a pretty okay week. They could have won that game. C.J. Stroud was obviously great. And
Dameon Pierce finally running hard. Looked great.
We're still seeing the flash. I'm sure Houston fans are still very happy with the way their team has performed this season.
1,000%.
Next, we got the Cleveland Browns, who were on bye this week.
I think that's the last one on bye, right? Yeah, the last team that was on bye. Yeah.
They play the San Francisco 49ers this week, so at least coming off a bye.
Welcome back, baby.
Yeah, at least you got 2 weeks to prepare for the Niners, but yeah, they were on bye this week, so not much to be said there. And then the Arizona Cardinals, we did talk about them as well very recently with the Cincinnati. But we didn't talk about them. We really just talked about Cincinnati. So let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals.
I think this was sort of a Joshua Dobbs welcome back down to reality type game. 15 for 32, 166 yards. Still threw those 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions alongside of that. James Conner, I think he went down with an injury here, which did not look good for them because he's been really, really good to start the season and sort of been a focal point of their offense. You know, they're who they are as a team. But Marquise Brown, 4 catches for 61 and a touchdown. And that was pretty much it. Rondale Moore did more on the ground than he did in the air. And, you know, this Cardinals team, I think, just ran into a brick wall this week. I still think they're a competitive football team.
But I think now, I don't know how competitive they're going to be in the rest of these games.
Yeah.
They could still be.
They'll still be competitive. They'll still play hard.
But the record's not. It feels like they're better than they've been better than 1-4. It's just unfortunate for them now with Connor going out, because your next guy up is really a big drop off in Amari Demercado compared to James Conner. But anyway, this is what the Cardinals expected this season. No one was really expecting to be a great team, and they just.
Hey, Kyler Murray's coming back soon, so we'll see.
Take a big loss to Cincinnati. So next up, we got the New York Jets, a team we didn't talk about, who took a win against the Denver Broncos.
Nathaniel Hackett beating out Sean Payton, the story of the game. And you know what?
The players played for him.
The players played. They were there. One player that definitely played hard for this New York team was Breece Hall.
Amazing bounce back. Well, not bounce back, but
amazing game. Finally utilized them.
They took the training wheels off him finally. They said he was going to be no more limitations, and we saw that there was no more limitations on him.
He looked good, man. He looked really, really good.
running all over that Denver Broncos defense for 22 carries, 177 yards and a touchdown, 8 yards a carry. What a performance from Breece Hall. And 3 catches at 17 yards as well, which is...
Go alongside of that. And Breece Hall solidifying himself as an RB1 in fantasy. For all you fantasy owners of Breece Hall.
If you guys got him.
I had the luxury of starting him this week.
Even me. And
In a team with Justin Fields and DJ Moore that I sat on the bench.
That team that I have him on there, the team that I started off 1-3 with Chase, Jacobs there.
All this week must have been nice for you.
Andrews, Lamar. My team is looking dirty. My bench could start for teams.
No, that's it. Anyways, this Broncos defense, there's a serious issue here. Something needs to change. They cannot stop anything. You know, we thought going into this game going into the season that the Broncos defense would carry them. But it's been the complete opposite. Russell Wilson, low-key playing decent this year. Hasn't been horrible.
When Samaje Perine your leading receiver, you know it wasn't a great game. And honestly, I think Sean Payton has to take a lot of blame now. Because they come in, they trade a first-round pick to get you in there. And you walk in like you're the big shot. You're
the big shot, you're the big boss. You're going to turn this team around.
Yeah, you start talking shit about Nathaniel Hackett on that other side. And it looks like the players just aren't really playing for him. It looks like I don't think he has much of a connection. It feels like he's just like the big name that's there.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have much of a... Anyway, we're not in the locker room, so we don't know. But just off the vibe I'm getting from that team, I feel like the players aren't really playing for him, and he doesn't really have much of a connection there. It feels like if you're not one of the top players, like, who are you?
He acts like... I mean, I know...
He's the big shit.
Yeah, he acts like this... He has this dictator-type personality about him, and... You know, it's cool. Maybe it worked out for you in New Orleans.
What have you done without Drew Brees?
Nothing. I mean, you're making Russell Wilson look okay. You got a touchdown in the first quarter. Started off great. But then after that, you know, just field goal, punt, fumble, punt. And then fourth quarter touchdown. But I think it was just a little too late there. I don't know, man. Sean Payton, something needs to change.
I feel like he's not getting enough heat for how bad it's been right now.
He's not, and he won't get any
reputation.
Because of his reputation, exactly.
And we know that he used to work in the media for the last 2 years when he was out of the game, and we know the guys at the media are going to protect him and not say too much about him. So
he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, next up, we got the Washington Commanders, who took a fat L on Thursday Night Football to the Bernstein Bears, the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore went absolutely off in that game, and you lost to the Bears, man. They were actually like decently in the middle of the pack for us, Washington. Now they're at the end of this below average year. You can't lose to you can't let the Chicago Bears drop 40 on you. 40.
And I mean, I feel like the thing with it was ugly. The thing with Washington, right, is their defense just did not show up today. Thursday, my bad. And it showed because Sam Howell low-key balled. 37 for 51, 388, 2 touchdowns to a pick. He had a really good game.
He's had a good season. He's
had a decent season to start. I mean, you had no run game. He was hitting everyone. Logan Thomas got a few balls. Curtis Samuel looked good. Gibson was catching out the backfield. McLaurin got only 4 catches. Anyways, he looked decent. This offense kind of rolled. Your defense can't allow 40 points to the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields only had 15 completions.
For 282 and 4 touchdowns.
He only had 15 completions. Khalil Herbert looked decent in this run game. Your run game wasn't there. Your run defense wasn't there. Your pass defense definitely wasn't there. DJ Moore's torching you. They have no one other than DJ Moore.
It's crazy. 282 passing yards and 230 of them were to DJ Moore.
I'm telling you. They have no one outside of DJ Moore.
They didn't even have a run game. Herbert got injured. Homer was banged up. Roshan Johnson left with a concussion. They were literally running a fullback at running back.
All you had to do, Washington, was double up DJ Moore, and you had this game. It was over. It wasn't even going to be close. But anyways.
All I know is Washington Commanders fans are on Emmanuel Forbes' ass right now.
Oh, yeah. He didn't look great. And, I mean, I feel like we should be talking about Ron Rivera. You know, you're the defensive guy on this team. You're the defensive coach. Everyone loves Ron. He's such a great guy. You know, he survived cancer. Good on that man. Tough coach. But hey, at the end of the day, you got to coach the defense, and it hasn't looked good.
I just feel like Ron Rivera, since he left since that season with Cam Newton, where Cam Newton was the MVP.
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of been living off that season. He has not been.
He hasn't been the same coach.
I remember the last time he's had a good team. He's coached a good team since then. So I don't know, looking rough, and he's not. I don't want to say he's on the hot seat right now, but he's.
I'd consider him, man. If I was watching, I would consider it.
He's definitely right there, though. Next up, let's move on to the next tier. We have the
Tennessee Titans.
We have the Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders, and Green Bay Packers. This is one of the not looking great tiers. These teams are probably not making the playoffs. So we got Tennessee, who we talked about earlier. They took a marginal L to the Indianapolis Colts. Sorry.
All good.
And I don't think there's much more to really be said on that. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders, who beat the Green Bay Packers, who are next up on the tier list. So we'll talk about both of these teams right now.
Just tell me, how good does Jordan Love look?
No, not great. I'm not gonna lie. This game was very boring.
It was very boring,
especially that first half where nothing was really happening.
It was a defensive masterclass from Las Vegas, at least. Max Crosby just completely dominating, and honestly, in my opinion, making a case for Defensive Player of the Year.
If he was on a contender, most definitely he'd be.
I mean, take out Max Crosby, the Packers win this game. That's just honestly my opinion. I think Max Crosby won them this football game. I mean, what was his stat line? Let me just pull it up. He had 1 sack, 4 TFLs. That's just insane. He was stuffing everyone. He was pressuring Jordan Love all game. He did not look comfortable. Threw 3 interceptions because of that, and we need this man on a contender. Las Vegas, if you're listening, just please get rid of Max Crosby. Send him somewhere.
Jacoby Myers for Vegas had a really good performance.
Yeah, he did yet again.
75 yards and a touchdown. He's been, I feel like his whole career, though, he's always been very solid. And because he was in New England, he didn't get much shine. Now that he's in Vegas, not many people are talking about how good he's been to start off the year.
And McDaniel's old OC is, really showing Bill Belichick what he missed out on.
Devontae Adams had a quiet game for his standards. And I thought Garoppolo, first half was kind of rough, but I feel like second half
He's shown in some instances.
Yeah,
some instances he was there.
Mm-hmm. And but these two teams, I think, probably not making the playoffs, and unless something drastic changes, not great. And on Green Bay's side, A.J. Dillon had 20 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown. It was okay. It was better than what he had done the week prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke Musgrave had his 6 receptions, but
bless you.
Thank you. Sorry for that.
Christian Watson had 3 catches for 91. Take out one of his plays where he got 50 yards, and it's just not a great stat line for him either. I mean,
Quay Walker got injured as well in this game, so I felt like Kenny Clark was all right though for him. He had a few.
He was okay.
Chances where he was all right, but
Rasul Douglas had a good game for them. I have to admit, he looked decent. He almost had a pick on Jacoby Myers, I think, in the second half. Garoppolo just chucked up a prayer and read that really nice, broke it up, but he should have had a pick there. Anyways, just this Packers team is decimated. I don't think they're a good football team. I don't think Jordan Love's the answer. And, let's move on.
The last year is the basement of the league, and unfortunately your boys have reached basement of the league territory.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the New England Patriots, and the only winless team in the NFL, bottom of our tier list, taking over from the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, no, that's impressive. The Chicago Bears are no longer the last place team in the NFL. But anyways, I think we touched up on the Vikings earlier.
Yeah, we touched up on all these last teams here. Is there anything specifically, any of these teams you want to touch on?
I mean,
these teams are terrible. It's actually crazy how there's 6 teams that are this bad.
Yeah, it just hurts, as a Vikings fan. It just hurts.
I don't think the Vikings aren't as bad as
the Vikings are not as bad as their record says they are.
It's Giants. Just... You know what? You want to make a last-minute swap? Sure, the Giants...
I was honestly considering swapping the Giants and the Bears.
I think the Bears can go ahead of the Giants because the last 2 weeks their offense has looked a lot better. So the Giants has just been...
a steady decline. But yeah, no, just to touch up...
You think the Bears could go ahead of... Actually, no, because they had blown that lead to Denver. We'll keep on this.
Denver's ahead of the Bears forever. But no, honestly, just last minute touch up on the Vikings. What do you do, right? Your season's done, I think. You don't have Jefferson. You got to play hard against the... If you want to somehow... If You want to somehow turn this thing around. You got to win your next 4 games without Justin Jefferson, which is a very, very tough task to do. Obviously, you play the Bears. That's probably a win. Probably. You play the Niners. It's probably a loss.
Even if they win their next 4 games, they're 5-4. It's like you think about, 4 games in a row, and they're still like 5-4.
But listen, 5-4. You head to the bye. You get a healthy Justin Jefferson.
It's not gonna happen though. You're not gonna be 5-4.
It ain't gonna happen. But hey, I still have hope. It is my team. Unfortunately, it's my team.
I just do feel like they will tank though. This team doesn't give me the
thing with the Vikings, right? For them to tank, and honestly, if I was coaching this football team, I would look at the circumstances of this season, and if you want to tank, if you want your team to get a high draft pick, you need to move on from Kirk Cousins because he's been balling. He will win you some football games this year. Even without Justin Jefferson, the man has been playing good. Jordan Addison is a legit wide receiver. He is about to showcase this in the following weeks. And you got to move on from Kirk if you want to tank. But he does have a no trade, so that's going to be a little hard to do. You also got to get rid of Daniil Hunter. Somehow swap him, maybe a third, maybe a second. I don't know who would bite. But try to get rid of that guy. Get rid of Cousins. Bring in Jaren Hall. See what you got with the kid. See if you really need a quarterback or if Jaren Hall is the answer. I don't think he is, but we shall see. And, that's what you do if you're trying to tank. If you're trying to win, you got to win the next 4.
Anyway,
you got to win the next 4.
On Kirk Cousins, though, you were telling me that he does have a no-trade clause. Do you think he'd be willing to waive it?
So the only thing I can see is if Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah sit him down and tell him, listen, Kirk, you're not playing for the rest of the year.
I feel like you can't do that, though.
You have too much money invested in him. I don't see it happening, but that would be the only way I think he would consider taking it out. But even then, I don't see him taking it out.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of comfortable in Minnesota right now.
He is. He's really and why wouldn't he be? I mean, look, you lose Justin Jefferson for 4 games. I know he and JJ were really, really close, so maybe that helps him move it. I doubt it, but hey, who knows?
Before him, though, like, he's not going to re-sign with you guys at this point. If they are looking to rebuild, he won't re-sign with you guys.
No.
Shouldn't he just, like, kind of agree with the team, get to a place where he'd want to potentially sign a free agency?
Because the thing with Kirk, right, is
mid-season, it's kind of a tough thing to go to a new team.
It is.
I'm sure he doesn't want to do that, so...
It is. Plus, he's comfortable in Minnesota, and he's still putting up numbers. If he stays in Minnesota, I believe we have a good enough offense for him to throw at least 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns.
And no matter how bad the team is, he'll put up his numbers, and he'll still get paid.
So I mean, why would he want to leave? I don't blame him, and it's unfortunate that this is what it came down to. The team never really helped him out, especially with the O-line. They never really gave him a proper O-line to help him out and, make him look decent. But, hey, it's the defense, whatever. But, hey, decimated Vikings fan.
Anyway, I think that's all we got here for the power rankings. It was a good week of football. A lot of interesting stuff. It's
always a good week of football.
A lot of things changed in the landscape of the NFL. A lot of teams got better. A lot of teams got worse. And, we'll see you again for our... Actually, we did go over this, right? Yeah,
we mentioned it briefly. Next week in the spreads, we'll really just, sort of bring you guys update. You guys see what's happening there. But, anyways, hope you guys had a good one. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you aren't. We're trying to get to 400 subs. That's our next goal. Mm-hmm. Let's do it. I feel like we can hit it within the next 2 months. So anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.